Hi guys and welcome back to another video on the wrestling review of Daniel. Just what the ideal guys to discuss us something a bit more retro. I'm gonna talk about um how and why WCW went out of business and give my thoughts on this subject. So as you know, guys, the mid to late 90s WCW were locked and a ratings war with the WWE that lasted from 90 around 95 to um 95 to 2001. Eric Bischoff pitched the idea for Ted Turner to give him the green light to give WCW prime time with WCW Monday Night Show. Um, so yeah, and like here's some of the factors that I think led to WCW's downfall. I'm I'm going to talk uh, about how corporate time of Warner before it became AOL didn't really like wrestling. Ted Turner or himself was a huge wrestling fan, but the problem was as that when as the, on the occasions uh, he's like other executives in the company would vote to keep wrestling, he would get the cast and vote because they'd all shut it down, and because he was the owner of the broadcast, or he got the deciding vote, and his vote carried more weight. Um, but ultimately, in '98, he was kind of shunned out his own company and replaced by other corporate suits. They didn't really care for wrestling, they didn't really get it. And because WCW was on the decline via um, via an overall alliance on the NWO faction, Hogan and Piper and Phil still being in the main events. You had Scott Hall, who was never able to break into the main event due to his alcohol issues, and he didn't show up to broadcasts past. And you had basically Hogan play the creative control card throughout his time in WCW. One of the major instances of this happening was at Starcade 97. He was supposed to put Sting over. He was supposed to put Sting over in, but he convinced Nick Patrick behind the scenes and uh, uh, um, gi- gives the and gives Sting like a sort of really and by putting me in the shot. shooter and I don't. It made Bret Hart, who was a special guest referee, look like a chump. And he had came over from WWF at the time, now he came over off the back of the Montreal Screwjob, um, and they failed to utilize Bret Hart. They gave him a couple of US title runs and stuff. They never really strapped the belt to him for a great deal length of time. Eventually, so when he took over, he wanted to make Bret Hart the guy, um, and reform the NWO in like late 1999, of Scott Hall, Evan Nash, F. Jarrett, uh, the Harris brothers, and Scott Steiner. The problem was, um, Hart, Hart got injured during the Starcade '99 main event around the um around the 10-minute mark. Goldberg super kicked Bret Hart and uh, caused post concussion syndrome. Hart would retire at the start of 2000, but there was other but there was other like daft moments in 1989 that really affected the company. At the start of the year, you had the Finger Poke of Doom. A few nights after Nash beat Goldberg at Starcade for the belt. Um, Starcade for the belt, ending Goldberg's undefeated streak. Goldberg, Sting, and DDP were the only homegrown main event creations that WCW ever had. Any any main event guy that they had apart from those three were all sort of defections from WWE. Um, so um, once they killed the old Berghoff at Starcade '98, they didn't have like a franchise sort of guy because they kind of killed off Sting with the finish a year earlier at Starcade 98, 97, sorry, with the whole sort of confused botch finish. That really should have been the ending point and the beginning and the end of the NWO. By Starcade '98, though, it did feel as though the NWO was getting a bit stale. Now, people make the argument that, oh, Nash gets cheered at Starcade '98 for beating Goldberg with the jackknife powerbomb. And I hear that, and I accept that there was years, but that was prime, primarily for the moment, because it was a shock. Nobody expected Goldberg to get beat. And to like beat Goldberg with an assisted laser shot by Scott Hall kinda cheapened um kinda cheapened to the whole Goldberg character. Goldberg was not ever the same. The NW reunification on the night of January 4th, as a result of the finger poke of doom. That storyline was hideous, and I'm going to get into that in a separate video. Um, but yeah, so it was a combination of with the but WCW very rarely let the babyface go over in the main event. It was always some sort of shady tactics from the heel. Now now I'm more into the heels, but the way professional wrestling is structured, guys, is yes, the business can be argued, the business it can be argued is driven by heels, and eventually the heels got to get his or her comeuppance at the end of the day. WCW all too often would screw out would screw over screw over the face when the face was supposed to go over instead of the heel. Stupid um stupid creative control antics by Hulk Hogan were like the uncensored 1999 steel cage first blood match in the double heel turn and the double on with Rick Flair and Hogan basically the reunification was a complete waste of time of the NWO. Basically, it failed in its objective, as Nash as Kevin Nash has said, that faction was supposed to be designed the reunified NWO, that is to give Oldberg a heel faction for him to just destroy on his way back to facing Hulk Hogan again in the rematch. Um, but that never really happened, as like Goldberg would pull in or often the feud Super Brawl 99 with Bam Bam Bigelow, who would also join in the attack on Goldberg in the January 4th, 99 episode. Gold and Bam Bam Bigelow is affiliated with the WCW roster. He attacked Goldberg in the stun gun in a pool match where Goldberg would defeat Scott Hall. Um, so yeah, um, but as well, like guys like Nash and Hogan, who were central to this, would end up turning face as well, completely ending the angle, all totally pointless. Um, in January 2000, you had all of this bullshit with Eric Bischoff and Vince so cutting each other's throats during creative meetings. There was nobody in there taking control of WCW's creative during the Monday Night Wars. There was no elevation of stars, um, up and comers. All the up and comers like Jericho all defected in '99. You had Eddie Guerrero, Eric Saturn, uh, Dean Malenko, and the rest are who should not be named, but um, for the purposes for the purposes of this video, I'm gonna name them Chris Benoit, all defect over to WWE. Of course, there are articles Guerrero, Benoit, Saturn, and Miller, and Kill would make the jump in 2000, just after Russo was released of his duties uninstalled, um, and WCW installed Evan Sullivan. Um, their articles left because they thought eventually Sullivan would favour the older guys, and you all know the history with Sullivan and Benoit, uh, um, which I'm not going to get into because the guys know where I'm going with that. But he actually put the belt on Benoit at Sold Out 2000. He beat Benoit said of issues with the crippler Ross face. Um, that title match came about because Bret Hart had to retire from the concussion he suffered at Starrcade in '99. Um, that was sort of undetected for a good number of weeks for Bret Hart. That's what caused the retirement. And yeah, you also had like wasteful spending on us or and the no soldiers. You had um um you get you had a bunch of video games in '99 that fell up. You had the Ready to Rumble film that was a box office disaster. You had the David as W as WCW the champion. Um, you had um, you you had the stupid to Jody by Gilbert L on a forklift match. Um, you basically had a whole bunch of stupid finishes towards then you did have some good stuff in 2001, but you never really got to see any of the payoff because it would WCW closed its doors in 2001 due to the AOL Time Warner merger that was a disaster for Time Warner as a whole, but that's for other YouTube channels to discuss. I'm only here to talk about the wrestling side of it, because WCW would have more eyes and suits just show up randomly and say, I don't get it, let's just pull the plug. Um, Eric Bischoff and a few urgent me they have Charles wanted to buy WCW and or run the big bang pay-per-view that would relaunch the company. Um, Eric's pitch was to shut down WCW for a few months and I'm back with this um and come back with this pay-per-view from the hard rock phase away to regenerate interest because WCW aren't packing arenas like they were in 96, 97, 98. By 99, fans had lost interest due to all the bullshit surrounding it. You really they really he should have elevated guys like Mysterio and Billy and Billy Kidman a bit sooner than you did than you did the WCW as you might have been around. You had the overall alliance of the NWO. Nobody knew who was in each group. You had the NWB team and the Wolfpack that would form NWO. I'll do a separate video on that if you guys are interested. As I see the Wolfpack NWO Hulk Hogan in the background um just as I move my head to there. As I said in my collection video, I'm not a fan of the I'm not a fan of the Finger Polka Doom storyline at all. But WCW did have some great stuff in the cruiserweight division. You had the Macho Man, Randy Savage, DDP feud. Um, even saw even Spur and Stampede in 1999 was a good pay-per-view, but but all that did was put all over the racks. You had too many people that had creative control um over over finishes to matches. You had to waste all spending on music artists such as Master P and the No Limit Soldiers. You even had James Brown, um, James Brown. He tried to do uh, deals with and stuff, and it was just an absolute mess. You had the Ready to Rumble film that was a box office disaster, and it was just a sad ending for WCW because the company did do a lot of good. You saw, you saw great matches like Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero from Halloween Havoc 1997. You had the likes of Juventud Guerrera up against well, it's Reed from Spring Stampede in 1999. Also on that pay-per-view, you had Billy Edmund versus Rey Mysterio. Again another cruiserweight um division classic for the belt. You had Rey Mysterio defeat Bam Bam Bigelow, Scott Orton, and Kevin Nash famously all won Nitro. That should have been the moment where WCW elevated Rey Mysterio, but they never. And it just the company never knew what to do if you weren't an NWO, if you weren't an NWO guy, basically. You were just as you'd only be able to get leveled up the card so hard, and then you get um pulled back down basically. As I said, it was such a shame because like that whole sort of cruiserweight division, you had guys like Jerry Lynn as the or Lynn of the year. You had guys like Hoovy. You had guys like Billy Edmund, um, Rich Enrico was in the cruiserweight division at one point. Dean Malenko, him and Rey Mysterio had a few classics. Eddie Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero, and the list was on. That is like the most exciting part to me of going back through WCW was the cruiserweight division because when WWE tried it with the light heavyweight division, um, it paled in comparison, to be honest, because Takamichi no Oku and Brian Christopher are the only two Red Bull cruiserweights across the way in WWE. All the best sort of cruiserweight talents like Eddie Guerrero at the time, Dean Miller, and oh, you had um Travel Guerrero. All of those guys were under contract at the WCW, and they never really elevated them, and that, in my opinion, was a huge mistake. For all the bullshit WCW did in 99 2000, there was some pretty solid stuff in 96, 97 that shouldn't be forgotten about. Um, but yeah, guys, let me know if you want any more of this type of video. It just goes to show you guys that you do have to sort of elevate young or anime urgent stars into the main event sooner, because this is my um this is what I think will be WWE's undoing if they're not careful, in particular the ends main event scene, as you've got three guys um that are over for or hey, you've got Seth Rollins, you've got Roman Reigns, and you've got like I don't know if you count my favourite guy LA Knight as a main eventer, but he is in that age bracket as well. But yeah, guys, that is where we'll leave it. Yeah, um, that is where we'll leave it. I just want to add to one more point. The um, the WCW in Time of Honor and AOL told Eric Bischoff that the deal is off, and they sold WCW to Vince McMahon, and we got the horrible um, and we got the horrible alliance angle that as a complete abomination against humanity. I should probably be shot in the face for ever putting myself through that, because was a it was a complete and utter cluster or fuck. WWE never on and on anything good when they I wa- hired the WCW the storyline with the the WCW versus the WWE undone to the Iron Angle, and it was just horrible, as all the WCW main event wrestlers are all on guaranteed contracts from AOL Time of Honor. They never bought uh, they never bought those contracts of Phil Air, Hogan, Hall, and Nash. They waited they waited a few months after abandoning that whole storyline, and then they brought those guys in, it was um, it was restrained. Okay, I thanks Archer and if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, help make it to 600 subscribers, and I'll see you over very soon. Stay safe and enjoy the video, and thanks for watching, and comment down below or any suggestions for the channel.